Hello and welcome back to episode 5 of Game Audio Analysis. We're going to do something a little different today. As you may have seen in previous videos, we usually go over a specific topic or a specific method that's used within game audio that makes things a bit more engaging. But today what I want to bring to you is something I've been wanting to do for a while and some people have asked me for, which is a list of 5 great examples of game audio. Now, I just want to clarify, this is not a top 5 list. This isn't 5 best uses of game audio throughout the entirety of video games. This is just 5 really good examples of games that implement audio or music in a very creative and engaging way. So these are more just to help you think critically and potentially improve sound design in games that you're working on. So let's get started. First up, we have Donkey Kong. Even with its limited hardware by today's standards, this is still one of the most iconic video games, and it had a great deal of thought put into its sound design. In one of his first jobs at Nintendo, Hirokazu, or Hip Tanaka, created the footstep sounds for Mario in Donkey Kong. Okay, well, technically Mario was called Jumpman in this game, but you get the idea. Most video games from this era used one sound effect for the same action over and over again. But if you listen closely to Mario's footsteps, they actually make slightly different sounds each time he moves. Tanaka addressed this in an interview with Red Bull Music Academy, saying, "If you listen to the sound of Mario walking, there are subtle variations. By using the curve on the charge-discharge of a capacitor, I tried to change the sound according to the timing of his steps. It was just a matter of tinkering with the circuit, but it was a challenge." In a time when video games were still in their infancy, Tanaka's attempt to avoid audio fatigue was so innovative. Needless to say, his efforts paid off big time. Tanaka went on to compose music for games like Metroid, Kid Icarus, and Dr. Mario. He was one of the lead designers for the Game Boy's hardware and is currently the president of Creatures Inc., who has assisted with the development of many Pokemon spin-off games. Next up is the 2016 reboot of Doom. The Doom franchise is known for its over-the-top violence and gore, but the 2016 reboot also put a massive emphasis on the game's sound design, particularly with how the music was implemented. Most fights in Doom occur in areas where the player has to clear every demon wave before they can move on. This format lends itself very well to a segmented soundtrack for the battles. If you listen closely, the music moves to new sections each time a major event occurs in a battle. Pair this implementation with a rockin' soundtrack by Mick Gordon, and you have the recipe for this adrenaline-inducing soundscape. Next up, we're going to talk about Thumper. Considering how many amazing games came out in 2016, this indie title probably flew under a lot of people's radars, but it still doesn't change how amazing the sound design is. According to developer Drool, Thumper is a rhythm violence game. In it, you play as a beetle, and you have to hit buttons in sequence with the game's music. This may sound easy, but the music's tempo and rhythms become increasingly difficult as players progress through the game's 9 levels. Aside from the great sound effects, Thumper has some clever implementation choices as well, like how obstacles produce one sound on their own, and a different sound effect when they're hit near another obstacle. Another subtle but great design choice are the game's audio hints. When a set of obstacles appears on the track, they show up in a specific sequence. This sequence actually has the same rhythm that players will hear when they eventually reach the obstacles. This gives the player an idea of what they'll need to do, and builds on the music idea of call and response. Up next is Heroes of the Storm. Blizzard's take on the MOBA genre is chock full of unique battlegrounds, gorgeous visuals, and a wide variety of characters. To top it all off, the attention to sound is immaculate. I could really make an entire video about this, so I'll just highlight a few awesome examples. After the beginning of a match, the active player's hero will have a brief interaction with one of their teammates' heroes. These usually just take up 2 lines, but they can really add a lot of character and world building. For instance, putting an Alliance and Horde character on the same team may result in heroes being frustrated with the idea of working together, or if heroes on the same team are friends, they might say something really nice to each other.
Lucio, how's my favorite international DJ?
I play a lot of music, but you're still my favorite song.
This small design choice keeps players invested in the world and the characters that inhabit it. Another great example is how the game uses audio cues. In Heroes of the Storm, there are a few options that players can choose from to regain health. One of the most accessible options is a healing fountain, located behind each of their team's walls. When a player's health gets dangerously low, a sound effect plays and the screen glows red. This is already pretty standard for video games, but where Heroes really shines is when a character on the player's team reminds them to visit the healing fountain.
Head to a healing fountain, quick!
This detail adds personality to all of the characters while solidifying the fact that this is a team-based game. Last up is the 2013 reboot of Killer Instinct. Microsoft's fighting game franchise hasn't had the easiest time surviving amongst the plethora of games in its genre recently, but if one thing's for sure, it's that the sound design of Killer Instinct is top tier. That right there was an ultra combo, essentially the finishing move that each character can use in Killer Instinct. Every character has a different pre-canned sequence that's triggered when the player inputs an ultra combo. As you probably noticed, the music changed to match the timing of the character's sequence. Needless to say, the timing of this music will change if a different character does their ultra combo. This is already impressive, but the real icing on the cake is that the instrumentation changes based on the stage. So doing an ultra combo with the same character on a different stage will have the same timing, but it can sound pretty different. I love ultra combos, but it's not the only incredible part of Killer Instinct's sound design. There are a lot of really subtle things too, like each character having a unique sound when they're selected, detailed audio panning for certain attacks, sound effects to notify players about the game's combo restrictions, and much more. A blind player that goes by the tag Sightless Combat produced a video where he explains how he uses the game sound effects to play it. His analysis really shows the insane amount of detail that was put into the sound design of this game. It's a really interesting and thought-provoking video, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. So there you go, 5 awesome examples of video game sound design. If you like this video, I'm happy to make a video with 5 more excellent examples. And while we're at it, what are some of your favorite examples of games that really use sound design effectively? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe we could show them off with the rest of the viewers. Until then, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.